Hey, Geekscape, welcome to a brand new Geekscape podcast. I'm Jonathan London, your host. And if this is your first Geekscape, well, you've picked a weird one, especially if you're watching this one live, because that means you've just watched 14 hours of Geekscape content. From 6 a.m. this morning Pacific Standard Time, Matt and I got together with our good friend Shar over at Big Brothers Big Sisters, and we talked about this show. We've been broadcasting for 14 hours straight, raising money for Big Brothers and Big Sisters, and we've crossed over $1,000 so far, which is amazing. With an hour to go, how much more can we raise? Well, that's up to you. We're about to talk some Geekscape here, and if this is your first Geekscape, and let's say you just picked this up on the podcast feed and you're like, what is happening? Well, you may want to go and listen to us talk about maybe last week's Geekscape, but the Geekscape before that, it's a little more of a normal episode. I like to sit down with creative types, people who make movies or comics or video games, and talk to them about storytelling, maybe some news and reviews of what's been happening, or we talk about their projects and really why they scratch that itch of making things. It's hard. It's we love this stuff because it's the closest we get to modern day alchemy. This is how I describe it, all right? As creatives, people might think, making movies, making comics, all that childish stuff, it's real easy. You're just playing make-believe. No. Let's get this straight, okay? Because I'm about to bring some comic book creators and writers on the show. We love this stuff because where there existed nothing, there now exists something. You have made something out of almost nothing but sweat, talent, which comes out of a lot of hard work and years of it, and creativity, just pure imagination. I love it. I'm addicted to it. That is why we started Geekscape, to celebrate it. And I will not hold up my guests and my co-host Katie any longer because we're going to celebrate it right now. But while you're watching this, if you're watching it live, I want y'all to go down to that link that is scrolling at the bottom and go to support.mentornewjersey.org and support Big Brothers Big Sisters. That's what we're here for. And speak of the awesome, there's Katie right there.
Hello.
Katie, you're amazing.
Thanks, man. I cannot believe how long you guys have been going. And I've only done 3 or 4 hours. What's up, Daniel Camposano?
Yeah, you've done a few hours, and I got to tell you, I think I could go a few hours more. I admit, I thought they had me in the first half, but I turned it around. I was actually yawning.
Down a little bit of caffeine in between there.
Yeah, this day we started at 6 a.m. with Matt Kelly Pacific Standard Time. We went into a couple of things. Super Action Man showed up. You saw Francois drop by and make some commercials.
My goodness.
It's just been a crazy long day, but it doesn't feel long. It just feels like a cool celebration. And Katie, you're new to Geekscape as my co-host, and I got to tell you, in most years we pick the holiday season around now to have our big yearly Geekscape to do. And this year, pre-pandemic, I thought about getting together the Geekscape picnic, which is something that I used to do in December to get people together. And we usually do Old Zoo at Griffith Park, and we get together and we just kind of everybody brings something, we picnic up, and we maybe shoot a live Geekscape or record a live Geekscape podcast. That's something we've done a lot. And the pandemic took it from us, and here we are doing the live stream. And I was telling Matt Kelly earlier, I think the live stuff, I think the streaming, I think it stays. I think that I know you and I have talked about doing a live show.
Heck yeah.
On stage somewhere, maybe a small coffee shop. Maybe we'll just be little bohemians with our hats out, trying to sweat for our art.
Oh, didn't know you had tats.
I've completely carved out a spot on the 3rd Street Promenade where we can just talk about the latest Marvel movies, and hopefully people will throw coins in our hats.
Great, yeah.
But we're still doing that. But I think that live streaming and the interaction we have with the audience is something that's important to me. And I'll tell you, Geekscapists, there's equipment I bought for the podcast that I have not used because we've started streaming, but I have a brand new Zoom recorder, brand new microphones, all this stuff that, if not for the pandemic, I'd be using to do in-person podcasts. And
And you know what? And we will. We absolutely will. Vaccine's on the way. And you know what? I say we still keep streaming even while we do live shows. So for those of you who are all across the country and can't make it to LA for the live show, maybe you can get a little taste.
Dale Capizano says that K69 was the highlight of the day. For those of you who missed the earlier thing, we did a live role-playing game where we saved Christmas. We played characters. We actually played small toys. Matt and I are going to talk. Geekscapists who are listening to this, subscribing to the Geekscape feed, there's going to be some remnants of the 15-hour live feed that are going to show up on the Geekscape show feed from Brian Gilmore and Ben Dunn returning to play games with Matt Kelly and I and Heidi Cox, to maybe that role-playing game that we did to save Christmas. Maybe I'll put that on the feed around Christmas. But damn, I've got a Geekscape episode already booked for this week with another film director. Like, it just keeps coming, Katie. I love doing the show, and the 14-year-old in me that loved David Letterman and Talk Soup is loving this right now.
Good, man. This
has been awesome.
It's been a ton of fun doing this too. Like, I've been so excited, like being a part of like the whole network, and the shoulder shimmies that we're doing right now.
Katie, I have to ask you before we bring in or Derek, and before we bring in, we got to get Derek to bring back Geekscape games. I love being a part of it.
Honestly, and I do love talking games quite a bit, and I do miss talking games on the daily, because there's so much in gaming to begin with that like there's always something that you're missing. So like there's always something that you don't always know.
Is there something you can do there? Can you get? I mean, Shane is in. Can you get Derek to return to the microphone?
I'll send K69 over there to put all hopes and dreams in their slot.
Derek, I know we're talking about you. Consider this an intervention, okay? When Katie said all the people listening across America, we also included like all of North America, my Canadian friend.
America North, yeah.
Yeah. Derek,
America in generals.
I've been texting with Shane. I've been talking to Katie. Are we doing this, buddy? Are you bringing back Geekscape games?
I've been, yes.
Hey!
No, but we haven't talked about it for months and months, but I would love to. I had that was so much fun earlier, and I also just loved not being in the like strict, we're just talking about this game, and that's the only thing we're going to talk about for the next hour. Like, just talking about whatever was so much fun. And I loved doing that, and so I would love to put something like that together regularly for sure.
No, I love video games. I do not have the ability to play them with the fervor and frequency that you seem to. You're the only person I know who has a PS5 and an Xbox One S, and I just think it's amazing. And Katie loves video games. Shane loves video games. I think the three of you, with a little Josh Jackson added in when he can, as long as he fixes and gets a new battery for his smoke detector and it's not going off every episode.
Can we send him one? It's Christmas.
I would.
A 9-volt battery.
Totally go over there. I will go over there.
You could change it for him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's so many that come in the Amazon packs. 10 or 12. Yeah.
I'll do it. I think he's being like a staunch person who's like, no, it's my landlord's job. I'm not going to do it.
Oh,
it's been years, bro.
Just replace the battery.
Your landlord's not going to do it either.
Yeah, no, your landlord's probably a hoarder under a stack of newspapers and cat bodies right now, and that's where your landlord is. It ain't getting fixed, pal. So
I also wanted to say, I went downstairs after this RPG that we played, and Michaela was like, "Thank goodness Katie was there. She really saved the day." So with the singing and the robot voice and everything like that, it was all the things that I couldn't do. So
there's no ego here. I brought Katie in to save the Geekscape podcast, the main Geekscape podcast.
She just thought we were saving Santa, but
she is saving all of us. Listen, I'm not.
Guys, if I wasn't here,
this
stream itself would not be here. I mean, I've not been here since 6 a.m. like Matt Kelly and London, or going all 15 hours, no stops, barely any breaks. But I saved the network, so
you're doing Go games in between.
Well, I just know that when Katie shows up, Jonathan, you got to step up your game because the funniest person on the Geekscape network is right there. It's been amazing.
With
What?
Mary and Joe, I loved them. They were
that was so funny. Yeah.
so well coordinated with how they popped in and out. Oh my god,
They're
I
incredible.
was obsessed. They're so fun. Oh, and the 29 Donkey Lane, is it 29?
It is 91.
91.
91. Sorry.
That's got to be my call out for like, if there's one thing that you watch, Bacon and Nate run such a smart, tight, insane show.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, it was like being in a ridiculously comedic fever dream doing that show with them.
It was like
awesome.
it's all the thoughts you kind of have just on a whim, and then it just was a game show somehow.
I was running the controls and laughing so hard during that entire hour. It was insane.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna say I champion a lot of. I champion everything that we have on the network, but like, I would put money down that 91 Donkey Lane is the best produced thing on our entire network. The amount of hours that Bacon puts into like sound design and like audio engineering is unbelievable.
I was blown away by
Unreal.
those guys. And Matt, thank you for bringing them to the network. I love them. All right. Y'all
We've
ready
got
to
more
talk
people to bring
some
on.
real stuff? Let's talk to some real podcasters, shall we? Let's talk to some actual real podcasters. And Derek, I don't mean to exclude you. I mean, you're our resident Canadian, but I think it's not Canadian enough right now. Let's bring them on here. Jason Inman, Ashley Robinson. Let's get them in here. Our good friends who aren't part of the network, but you know what? They don't need to be, because they got their own awesome stuff going on over at their YouTube channel and their own podcast, Geek History Lesson. And they make comics. They're amazing. They're some of my best friends and my heroes. And here they are. How are you guys doing?
What an intro.
I've been waiting 14 hours to come onto this live stream. I've been begging Jonathan to let me in.
See the text we've been sending.
he's been
Matt. We're
ignoring my
Matt,
phone
is it
calls.
This hour? Is it 1 hour from now we're talking?
I
can
thought,
talk
I thought
action
maybe
movies.
a nude pic would move me up. Nope.
Not a thing.
It moved me up, Jason.
All right.
Wait. The important question, Derek. Where are you from?
I live in the Vancouver, Canada area.
Oh, he over in the rich TV part of Canada.
He grew up on the island. And,
Yeah, I grew up on Vancouver
he-
Island in a poor hick town, and moved to the
that's
big city
everywhere
with.
that's not a big city.
Yeah.
Like, let's be
Yeah.
completely honest.
The only
Yeah.
thing I know about Vancouver Island is that's where they sometimes dump people on that show alone.
That's
Yes.
true.
Yeah. And there's a beach where feet keep washing up, and they don't know
Yes.
why.
Yeah.
Wait,
yeah.
That's where that beach
hold
is.
up.
Wait,
What?
Yeah.
they think it's because there's a major
Yeah.
ocean
Oh, yeah.
current that goes by
Yeah.
there. So yeah, like severed feet.
And because like the shoes change the way like they decompose, so it just like falls off at the ankle, and then they wash
Yeah.
up on this beach. Yeah.
Canada's a very eerie place.
How long has that been going on, Derek?
Like years and years.
Yeah. It's like that
Yeah.
beach in France where all those Garfield phones were washing
Yeah.
up for years and years. It's just the weird current.
Why? This is more ridiculous than the improv show.
You guys got
What?
to keep up on garbage news. I'm just saying.
Yeah, really.
Okay, so the
Yeah, if
Garfield
you just Google
one,
like feet washing up, like it'll be the
Yeah.
first thing for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. The
Yeah.
Garfield one I get the fact that like some box of Garfield phones fell into the ocean and it's like kind of been like in the right current to wash up. This foot thing over years, all I can think is that people are going swimming and they're skinny dipping, but they don't want to step on sharp rocks, so they're only wearing shoes. So the animal life only eats them up to the shoe, and then it's like, I can't digest that, and then that's
I mean, in
exploding
terms
up.
of animals, it's less likely, right? Because they start from the outside and eat you in, which is why like your cats will eat your face if you die in your house.
Hmm.
So
Because of the fat.
yeah, so they'd probably eat your feet and torsos would be washing up. But
Yeah, but if you're in shoes, I don't know. That's crazy.
I can
Derek,
I can
you
only
have
think it's like it's the dangling feet. It's like
I'm pretty
even
sure
off
there's
the
been
side
like
of
a
ships.
documentary
or
about this beach. Yeah.
Matt, we have a brand new show. Matt, we have a brand new show on the on
It's
the
called
channel.
Footloose.
It is. Listen, Matt, true crime is a hot vertical in the podcast market right now.
I would listen
We
to
got-
literally just like a podcast of Ashley and Derek just talking about Canadian folklore.
No, we got to send Derek's right there. We got to send Derek. To
I could
the
go
island.
to the beach.
no.
Listen, Derek. You don't have to jump
just
in.
captures the
This is
audio.
gonna be
Just,
Serial.
just stick your toe in the water.
Yeah. See what happens. We
See
could
what
do
happens.
like once
have
the
to go.
pandemic's over, we could do a live show from the beach, like really bring a lot of people in.
But like, where are the feet coming from? Have they done DNA
ocean.
tests? why are there so many feet? Like, this is now a thing. Like,
You're gonna have to listen to the podcast to find out.
And then the season finale of the podcast is that Derek flies to Japan, chops his foot off with a tracker, and sees if it arrives.
It's like a GoPro tied to it, and like just we can follow its journey.
Let's get Sarah Koenig on this.
Yeah.
Let's get some
What I
NPR
need,
money
Derek,
behind this.
I need you to take a survey of the shortest towns in Canada and start there. If people are just like really embarrassed by the fact that they lost their feet,
I mean,
but
that's
they're
got to
suddenly
be East
shorter.
because my mom's family is all under 5'10". So.
Michaela
people have
just
no feet.
messaged me as well. She said they've almost all been left feet, and I mean, there's like a 50-50 chance, I guess, but like, you know.
But as the number grows, that becomes
None of those
like
elusive third
incrementally
feet right in the
smaller. The 50% chance turns to like 0.05.
I mean, there's a 50% chance for every foot, though.
It's like the scene in Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead where it says heads, 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 heads.
way to drop that Shakespeare knowledge. I love it.
Thank
Welcome
you.
to
Yeah,
Geekscape.
I love me some Tom Stafford
It's awesome.
at the end of the night.
We don't even need to talk about geek stuff, but I do want to catch up with y'all. Jason and Ashley, y'all just released your newest comic, the newest Jupiter Jet issue. The newest
We don't even have it
trade.
near us.
Thank you. Over 14 hours, he was just like, I think I'll just lay it over here.
Yep.
Tell us, how's it going, y'all? You know, how is doing book signings and distributing a comic book into stores during pandemic? How is that
Yes,
going?
here it is. Finally.
Yeah, there it is.
Oh,
Yeah, that's a new one. It's it's weird. There aren't really book signings, really. I mean, we went to Collector's Paradise, wore a mask, and signed 40 of them. But
In about 15 minutes and then left.
it just means that a lot of these books are going in the mail more than normal, which I don't think is a bad thing. But it's definitely interesting. It's definitely quieter than a normal book release. Like we had one last year, and it's way quieter this year on Jupiter Jet and the Forgotten Radio.
Nah, the girls won't come back this year and dance around the table for us. And
Nope.
no, the pyrotechnics are out this year.
Yeah, that's true.
So-
All we have is
I-
cat pictures this year. That's it.
yeah.
I don't know where he is, so I'm not going to run away and come back with him.
It's been going well. Like, are y'all doing more comics? Like, has the downtime of the pandemic, has it been downtime of the pandemic? Has it allowed y'all to create the next thing or write the next thing?
Well, it's so funny that I remember when the pandemic first started because everybody was like, "Oh yeah, all this downtime," and my job has not stopped this entire year, so I don't know where this downtime that everybody has talked about has come. I'm still working the same amount of hours, just I'm doing
not
them
more.
at home.
And I do want to say that usually this is the time of year when entertainment winds down. But I think because, like, usually it's right around Hanukkah. But I think because nobody knows in January if restrictions are going to get harder, more things are shooting. I have gone to set more days in December than in the past bunch of years combined.
And it's only the 12th day.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it's crazy you're talking about more comics stuff like that because I am planning in January to launch a Kickstarter campaign for my Superman comic called Super Best Friend. So I'm not stopping. Nothing about this year has stopped me. But like, yeah, this mysterious like getting extra time this year. I don't know what they're talking about.
Jason, you like how I did this, baby? I am a big fan of your Superman idea. You were one of the few people that I've seen outside of my house in person during the pandemic.
Yeah.
We went to the park a few months ago and sat distantly and like yelled ideas to each other and like caught up.
Yes, we did.
And that was an awesome day, and it was awesome catching up with you. We've seen so few people in person. I know y'all have a gift exchange, a white elephant every Christmas. We haven't been able to do that. It's just been a weird year, but you know what? The animal that survives is the animal that evolves, and I think that this year we've introduced things like this video streaming and ways to connect all the Geekscapists together remotely and catch up with people like you and get new guests on the show.
I don't know how
It's
you
been
all
awesome.
can go this long. We did a 5-hour charity stream and we're like, I'm tired.
Yeah.
I gotta go to bed.
5 hours. By the end of the 5 hours, I was like, I'm ready to be over. So I don't know. How
Were
you're doing this
y'all on
15.
the whole time?
He was.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had a panel off.
Yeah.
No. You got to split it up. You got to get a whole network on there, and you got to find somebody. Matt
need
Kelly
Matt
actually
Kelly.
died a few weeks ago. This is just his husk, and every now and then, I think like
It's-
some of the
it's
gas
Well,
releases.
thank you
It's
to his
starting
husk
to
for
hit.
keeping up the Instagram message chain going.
Yeah,
for me.
this it's like finally starting to hit right now. Like, because
Sure.
as Ashley knows, because she was on the last one, it's only been like a month and a half since my last 15-hour live stream.
And you're not a caffeine guy.
No, I just drink bottles of water to keep me going.
Straight cocaine, right?
Yeah, but it's like, it was so funny. As John was like doing the introductions, I was like, ooh, this is the first time that I'm really starting to feel like, oh, I've been sitting in this chair for 15 straight hours running a live stream. It's
Matt,
starting to hit.
In your defense, you're not the first person who's fallen asleep listening to me do a podcast. Like, it happens all the time. And
No,
I'm sure
I mean, that's the only reason why I subscribe to it is it's better than Headspace or the calming app.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna do the. I'm thinking about doing some ASMR right now in the live stream, and I just want y'all
man.
to.
If you
no.
eat on that mic, I will leave. I think that.
Do you have misophonia too?
Yes, it's so disgusting. Like when people kiss in movies, I'm like, please stop. Please
Wait,
just-
what's the word for that?
Misophonia.
Mesophobia?
It's where like
Phonia?
mouth sounds like
Yeah.
that under
It's
your
basically
skin.
how Shane hosts at
nuts.
Geekscape
So should I put my
Games.
Doritos away?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Remember how much?
I
we had to
ate
tell
chips.
Shane not to do that during Geekscape Games?
No.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Which time?
I ate chips the other day and I couldn't listen to myself. I was just like, I don't know how I'm going to get through this. Because
I'm okay if it's me, but if it's other people, I'm like, I'm dying
Well,
inside.
because
She
also,
puts the
what-
me in the misophonia.
What is it with people who chew with their mouth open? If any one of you is, I don't want to.
You're the devil.
I'm sorry, but like, why do people chew with their mouth? Like, and then they try to talk. Can't. I'm done.
No.
No.
Done.
Listen, we got Danny M in the comments, and he says, I don't know about the Superman comic.
Well, you'll have
Jason.
to become a patron because the patrons have read about half of it.
Yeah, it's one of these things where like, and Jonathan, you know this, man. Like it's you're always like trying to do this weird game with promotion. So like it's always this weird thing about like when do you reveal a project or when do you and to be honest with you right now, this Kickstarter I'm not planning on launching it until like January 19th. So I'm just like slowly eking it out and doing little things, and then like January 1st is when it's like, hey, here it is, go for it. But over my Patreon, I've actually been letting them read it early, so they've already read like the first 12 pages.
But it
so.
came
I
out
love
of
that.
your inspiration because everyone here is going to know this, where people go, well, what would your Superman story be, or what would your video game be, or what would your Lord of the Rings be? And you're like, I'll tell you when they pay me to write it.
Well, and that's what this was. Like I finally I actually started writing that last year before in 2018, and I just was like, you know what?
That was 2 years ago.
Yeah. Oh my God. Sorry. I started
weird?
writing in 2019. Sorry.
Remember when
Actually.
Parasite won Best Oscar this year?
Yes.
That was this year.
Y'all
Yes.
remember Tiger King?
Yeah. Everybody keeps
remember.
talking about Tiger King.
Yeah.
And I was like, that seems like yesterday and also a decade ago.
10 years ago. Yeah.
I've aged 20 years.
But I got tired. Like I was like, I don't know if I'll ever write Superman professionally, the licensed character ever. So you know what? Screw it. Scrape all the names off. Here are new original characters.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not the greatest comparison, but I'm reminded of back in the early days of Geekscape when we used to have famed porn director Axel Braun signing at our
props
booth.
to him for the excellent costume works, and I mean that unironically.
No,
that
but-
Dr. Fate
but-
costume was sick.
But
I
I
tweet
always
back and forth with
remembered.
Axel all the time.
But do you remember? Like, I remember talking to him about those films, and he was like, "Look, no one's going to ever pay me to make a Star Wars movie. So if they want me to make a porn version of Star Wars, I'm going to make the Star Wars movie that I wanted to make ever since I was 8 years old." It's
The one where they
The-
fuck.
Yeah. That was really what I was looking for when I was 8 years old.
I mean, when I watched Return of the Jedi, I don't know about you guys, but the first thought I had is like, when is his brother and sister going to kiss again?
I know.
Will someone
And
just
hard.
bang that Twi'lek, please? Like,
Yeah.
come on. Let's do this. Let's do
Don't
this
show
right.
me a Jabba and do nothing.
Chewie needs some action. Chewie needs some action.
Look,
Yeah.
the suit community is there for it.
Hey,
I'm
baby,
sure.
it's Life Day, and I got nothing better to do.
I'm telling you, that's the only. I'm really now in retrospect, as we were talking about in the very, around the 10 a.m. Eastern Standard portion of this live stream, I was saying how one of the names I had pitched for this was the Geekscape Life Day live stream. And I really think we should have went with it. I think that would have been a great name for it.
Is there an official date for when Life Day is?
That's a great question. I have no idea.
Yeah,
I'm not enough of a Star Wars nerd
I
to
think
know.
the date was when Gary Kurtz said, "I'm not going to take up too much more of this shit, George." George, I'm not going to take any more of this shit, all right? After Empire, I'm out. And Star Wars was never the same without him. But Geekscapists, we do have one more week of Mandalorian coming, and after that last 8th episode of Season 2 comes out, I'm going to try and get either Ian Kerner or some people from our brand new Bingetown TV show who were not represented that much today. We did not do a Bingetown episode today. I'm going to try and get them to do a little Mandalorian catch-up. And Matt just Googled that November 17th is the Life Day. According to that galaxy far, far away and long ago, where they had November 7th. There's so many problems.
According to some
Well, Lord of the Rings also uses the Julian calendar. Even in the movies, it goes, it's October 24th at 10 o'clock.
Oh, that's right. Yes, they do.
It's the only time it's referenced. And you go, okay, I guess.
I had such problems as a kid when Han was like, I'll see you in hell. And I was like, well, hold up.
Yeah,
Did you just, what?
Yep.
Is this like Judeo-Christian hell, or is this H? Like
in the books,
H?
yeah, in the books, what they did to like kind of be like, about that, they introduced he's a Corellian, and they introduced a Corellian afterlife place called HEL. And that the Corellians are all like, it's that hell, and I'm like, who
you
did
mean Norse hell?
Listen,
which has
he
the
yelled
same
at it.
spelling.
Cliff Clavin was in that scene. He knows you're lying. All right, okay, Empire Strikes Back fans, you know what I'm saying. All right, so we,
Speaking of Disney,
we got to talk about this because Disney basically just like opened up the hose on us on Thursday and just started announcing everything. And I think the only person that didn't get their Star Wars series was that Twi'lek from Jabba's palace. They basically gave everyone a Star Wars series or a movie. It's pretty amazing as a Star Wars fan, and we've all kind of like gotten one back by the abusive boyfriend that is the Star Wars trilogy and the Star Wars series, and we're like, we like Star Wars now because Mandalorian, and they've run with it. And they said, Dave Filoni, yeah, here are the keys. You and Jon Favreau, show us. Excited? What are y'all excited about from these announcements? Because there are a lot of them.
I mean, where do you even begin with that dump?
I'm asking you too, Katie.
I'm sorry. It's just
you're my co-host.
It was like one of those. I was like,
how
do they
like
have
a man?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Dump it on.
Katie.
Thank you. Ashley, we need to hang out more. Thank you.
You can't say the future is female.
We can't
then
hang
say
right now, but
you can't
we
be like
scream from across the park. And
listen,
here for it.
the future is female, but stay in your lane. Let me talk first. I'm not
This bitch.
All right, Katie, take it.
Okay, I mean, Star Wars. There's so. I'm so excited for the Patty Jenkins series. I'm so excited for Rogue Squadron. That's gonna be insane. The Obi-Wan Kenobi series, like what? There's just the fact that there's multiple of like each universe, like the Marvel series. Like, oh my god, I just saw the Loki trailer and I was like, what is happening? What did I drink before watching this? There's so much. I don't know where to begin. Like, I mean, okay, let's just start. Rogue Squadron, Patty Jenkins. How exciting is that? And did you see that trailer? Anybody?
Yeah, that's the only film that they've talked about films like the one that Taika Waititi is going to do, and
the trilogy that Ryan Johnson still has.
Yeah,
I know. I heard that and I was like, really, we're still doing this?
But Rogue Squadron is the only proper film that they really announced, and I'm excited that they get away from the Jedi. And like, if they're doing a young Wedge Antilles and the Rogues, I think I'm down with it. Especially since that video showed Patty Jenkins. She's like, "Hey, my dad was a fighter pilot.
Yeah,
I know this stuff. I've been wanting to make this movie for a long time. Now I get to do it with Star Wars. It's amazing. I'm super excited.
I'm excited about any girl from Kansas because she's a Kansas girl. But no,
Jason loves his mom and he loves Dorothy.
That's right. Dorothy and Superman are and I guess now Patty Jenkins are the only famous Kansans.
And roping tornadoes. That's me, Jason.
Yeah. No, I've been saying for years that like if you've ever read like the expanded universe and stuff that they threw out, but there was like a series of novels called Rogue Squadron about Wedge Antilles, and for a long time it was the only Star Wars book series worth actually reading besides the Thrawn trilogy. Yeah, I'm throwing shade. I don't care because I read them all and they're bad.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, by the time we started getting like tales from Jabba's palace and stuff like that, the wheels were kind of falling off.
Those are like the only ones that I actually liked. I would
Matt,
love for an anthology Tales of series where we just do like Season 1's Tales
job.
of Jabba's Palace, and we just follow like a character in that palace for a day.
And clearly,
If you
Disney
aren't
Plus
reading
is the
Star
place
Wars
to do it.
Adventures from IDW, it's basically that. And so it's my favorite Star Wars comics. Right now.
The coolest thing I actually think about Rogue Squadron was I actually saw the video on Patty's Twitter before I heard the announcement, and I love that she just like dropped the video, and it was this really well done video, and then she roller skating to the X-wing. I actually was like, this is how all genre films should be announced going forward. Just like have this really personal, kind of cool, kind of different video from like the writer or the director saying, this is why you should watch this movie.
I agree, and that's why next weekend I'm helping Jason jump off a roof to promote his Superman project.
That's right.
We're going to film that next week. Oh, I shouldn't have spoiled it. We should have just let them watch the video. But
Yeah, I'm going to leap onto the 405. Will I die or will I not? Will my foot show up in Vancouver Island? Find out.
No, and it's
Go
gonna be
you
your
go
left
through
foot,
that
so
sign
you
like that one guy did a couple years ago.
I think really like a place to jump off is The Mandalorian, and the fact that we're getting an Ahsoka series.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
insane.
Will they fix the Montrails? Will they give her a heavier hat? We'll see.
I'm not sure, but the idea that this is possibly an Ahsoka series where she's going after Thrawn, I'm down with it. I've been wanting to see Thrawn since those early books in the late 80s, early 90s, like brought me back into Star Wars. I'm big on that, and just looking at the rest of it, the Andor series looks awesome. Obi-Wan Kenobi, and finding out that we're going to get some Darth Vader in there. I mean, the Obi-Wan Kenobi series is to replace the prequels in our eyes, right? Like that's the way it goes.
Pretty much, yeah. I would say, or like fill in the gaps that you really wanted to see.
Because I'm watching Clone Wars, and it's really a lot of fun and it's satisfying, but it feels like we got Hayden Christensen coming back. I mean, this is the way that we want to see these stories now, and sequentially and in episodic nature. And I think that like we're all just gonna forget the prequels existed, and then I think in like 10 years they're gonna start being like, oh yeah, the sequel trilogy. Let's start actually doing a John Boyega series or something. Let's start making good on those things that were laid down, because
I mean, there was
as
so
long as
many
they-
questions around him. Yeah,
As long as
he
they get a
gave that
Boba
really-
Frick TV
that-
show, I'm content.
He gave that really scathing GQ article, so I don't know if he has firmly burned any bridges back to Star Wars now that those royalty checks have cleared.
ooh, interesting.
yeah, I
Really
mean,
good question.
tomorrow they announce a cyborg show at DC. Never mind.
Cyborg's already on a TV show. It's called Doom Patrol, and it's really great.
I'm excited about that. James Mangold, since we're talking Lucasfilm, doing the next Indiana Jones movie, I think it's a great move. I think James Mangold's always been a really great director who can do genre, but he can also do like serious movies. He did Girl Interrupted in Copland, like right out of film school.
And they're
So
claiming
he's
that this is the final one now, even though they claimed the last one was the final one.
Do you think this one will be like a half measure and not really that good like The Wolverine? And then when he makes 6, it'll be like Logan all in black and white and we'll really like it?
I think that it'll be interesting when 6 is actually the artifact they're digging up is Indiana Jones, and they just like find him, and they're like,
You know,
oh.
it's so funny. I saw somebody did the math, and that they said that like Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was pretty close to Indiana Jones was Harrison Ford's real age at the time. And I saw somebody do that same scale, and they were like, if this one is going to be aged up in real time, then this movie is going to take place in like 1977 to 1979. And I was like, are you kidding me? And Indiana Jones in disco time?
and if Indiana Jones was created because they didn't
Indiana
give,
Jones at Studio 54.
Yeah.
wasn't the whole point of Indiana Jones that they didn't give Spielberg James Bond?
Yeah.
And now we have like Indiana Jones firmly planted in the James Bond era in the late 70s. And that's like Roger Moore Bond. And sure, let's have Indiana Jones versus James Bond and just have that be a movie.
Yeah, Pierce
you know?
Brosnan's got nothing going on. Just hire
There
him
you
back
go.
and color
Sure,
his
why
hair.
not?
He looks
I'm
great.
Let's
so
do
into
it.
it.
Pierce Brosnan was awesome in that first Mandalorian episode at the beginning of the season. Oh no, that was Timothy Olyphant, and he looked like Pierce Brosnan. It was
How
amazing.
dare you? Timothy Oliphant is gorgeous.
He was, and so was Pierce Brosnan.
Wishes.
Oh, I loved. I mean, just watching Timothy Olyphant with the touch of gray. You know, he's a big.
I'll be
influence
honest
on
with
me.
you, when they announced like the other 50 billion Star Wars series, I'm surprised that they did not announce the Star Wars Timothy
Star
Oliphant
Wars
show.
Deadwood.
Yeah, Star Wars The Marshal, or
I'm not
Star
gonna
Wars
lie.
Timothy Oliphant stares at the camera for 30 minutes.
Yeah,
Right.
he was great in that episode. He's always just so charismatic and awesome.
Yeah.
But we've also got a Lando series coming. What's the story on the Lando series? Is this like Donald Glover doing a Lando series, or is this a later Lando? What's the story on it? Did they release information?
This was Disney going, "Ooh, we need diversity. People like the one black person in our universe, right? Great, super great."
This could be wrong. I read that they're both going to be in it.
I'm in.
Really?
Yeah.
I read that they're both going to
Honestly,
be in
if it's
it.
Billy D. Williams
Yeah.
like rolling around a space
Look,
hospice,
I'm-
I would be very
I'm
interested.
telling you that this is a backdoor pilot for a
Colt
secret
45.
Colt 45 campaign.
Let me tell you how things used to go down.
Thank
He just
God the key to saving the universe is Colt 45. Smooth.
yeah, if he's the guy who rolls back the years before and after every episode, I think that'd be awesome. A Lando series with Billy D, and maybe a little bit of action on his part, but mainly you're just seeing a younger Lando running around.
Yeah.
So
So it's
some
like
amazing stuff.
it's like that Jim Henson, the storyteller, but it's just Billy D sitting by a fire telling a story,
It's
and then
very
it cuts
much like
to
the
Donald
young
Glover.
Indiana Jones Chronicles.
Yeah, like just flashback stuff.
The other one that Lucasfilm was all about was we're finally getting this Willow series they announced like 2 years ago. I'm super excited about it because I'm a big Willow fan. I didn't go as far as to read the George Lucas penned sequel to Willow book, but I do love that movie. I know some people don't love that movie. I personally do love that movie. No love
I've
for
never
Willow.
seen it.
I've never
It's
seen it.
okay. I mean,
I
will
I've-
Val Kilmer be in it? Who knows?
that's the ultimate question. But like, you thinking no?
I think no.
I've heard
He's too busy being Mark
I've-
Twain.
I've heard health issues with Val Kilmer,
too bad.
like off the set of Maverick, that made me question
Let's
whether or
just
not we're going to have a whole lot more
rewatch
Val.
Tombstone and remember how good he is.
Look,
Oh
we
my
only
God.
need
Yeah.
the only thing that's make or break for that series is Warwick Davis. So as long as they
Yeah.
get him, we're all good.
Well,
Did
they've
you-
got him, and we'll see. But I'm into it, and I just like the idea of a new sword and sandals, sword and sorcery fantasy series starting up. But that's something that Game of Thrones is great, but Game of Thrones was so serious all the time, and it was like it just didn't have the journey to it. And I feel like Ashley knows what I'm saying because she's a big Lord of the Rings fan. But you got to have the characters that start in a place and they have to go into the unknown to a place they've never been before. And remember, like Game of Thrones, when we meet the Starks, everybody's at peace for the most part, and they all know each other, and all the houses are like, "Hey, it's our good friends from down the street," and they're all chilling. Willow is like Lord of the Rings. It's someone who is smaller than most people, and they go on this journey into things greater than themselves and discover their own strengths. And I will never get tired of that story.
If you haven't seen the new Dark Crystal show, it is very that. It's super
Yeah.
excellent. Yeah, which we're also never getting another season 2.
We aren't. That was an expensive show. Like watching that
it's
show,
so
I was like,
good, though.
I only
It's
watched
so
the first
good.
episode, and I was like, I don't know how they completed this as just one episode and did an entire series after.
The
It's so-
Netflix like shows that they canceled versus shows that they kept. Like I understand from a budgetary standpoint, but it definitely was not made. But like, how do you cancel in the Dark Crystal and like even something as cheesy as Teenage Bounty Hunters, but we're gonna get a second season of Space Force? Like, this
Can
was
we
like
talk about that? My God.
Space Force was about as fun
So
as
bad.
actually hammering your hand, and it's got the most brilliant people involved. Meanwhile,
yeah.
like they couldn't wait to just
I
make Glow once
sort
the
of like
pandemic.
watched
Glow,
that
I was
entire
so sad
season
about the Glow
because
cancellation.
it should have been such a
Yeah.
great show, and especially
should've been
when
called
Billy D.
Space Force,
Williams.
because that's
When
what
Billy D. Williams showed up for the Colt 45, I was just like, "What is going on here?" Sorry, had
Yeah,
to pull
no,
that back in.
Space Force was definitely after the first episode of Space Force. I was like, it's swinging and miss with the most talented people in comedy.
Yeah.
It happens.
And why did they put Ben Schwartz as the same character that he played in Parks and Rec? Like he's such a brilliant actor and a very good improviser that I was like, he's what's his name from Parks and Rec? Like
Sometimes
the
it
same
just happens, You get some great chefs and they don't cook well together. It just happens. On the Marvel side of things,
My
there's
God.
like a million holy shits on that. We got trailers for Loki. We got trailers for Falcon Winter Soldier. We've seen the WandaVision stuff, but it's premiering January 15th. Not to put a shadow on the Kickstarter that Jason's going to come on Geekscape and talk about.
Which we
But-
know is going to trounce that show.
Well,
Yeah, I'm gonna take it over.
Come on.
And
after you
did
jump
get-
off a roof in our video, yes.
I did get word that the boys at Bingetown TV are absolutely planning to do weekly recap episodes on WandaVision as that drops, and probably
Nice.
a shit ton of the other shows as well. But if you, I told John that we need to get one of them on to do the Mandalorian wrap up, because they are like those dudes who have the entire history of anything Star Wars memorized, and just I'll watch an episode of Mandalorian and then listen to their hour recap and be like, oh, I didn't even realize that was like a reference to this thing and like this piece of a fictional religion
They
from
were
like
us
some
in high
book from like 20 years ago. It's insane.
Yeah, the WandaVision thing, what is crazy is that when we got to the Infinity movies, when we got to the last two Avengers movies, we were like, man, these movies are so intertwined. Now they're going to put this to rest, and we're going to be able to get a couple one-offs. Marvel has no intention of one-offs, and they are creating a multiverse and a connected universe that has only gotten more complicated and interconnected. And it starts with this WandaVision show, and it goes into Ant-Man and the Wasp 3, introducing Kang the Conqueror. Are you kidding me? And now we're going to get a Fantastic Four movie that probably bounces off out of that one. This is all going crazy. And like we got the Loki, but we also have announcements of new shows. Obviously Moon Knight, and we knew about She-Hulk, but Armor Wars, Ironheart, Secret Invasion.
Give Oscar nominee Don Cheadle a goddamn fucking movie to lead. He has been there since Iron Man 2.
Yep,
I'm so fucking livid.
I'm like, call that show War Machine, you cowards.
and you know what?
Disabled veteran, come on.
I'm super excited for that one, and
no, it actually does look very exciting.
Yeah,
I would love for Don Cheadle to go up against Sam Rockwell's character from Iron Man.
Yeah, bring him
2. Bring him back, and because they're bringing back the Abomination from the Incredible Hulk movie that Universal made. They're bringing back an Abomination. I would love for them to bring back. They're bringing back Tim Roth in the Abomination. I would love for them to bring back the Leader too. We saw a hint of the Leader in that movie.
The Homer Simpson character, deep cut.
What do y'all think of these?
Looking Glass from Watchmen.
What do y'all think of these? What do y'all think of these Marvel announcements? Because I'm just going off because there's so much to cover.
There is so much to cover, and I'm curious to know what everybody thinks. Who's going to be cast in the Fantastic Four stuff?
Jason and Ashley. And the Thing will be played by Derek, and I don't know. We'll find a Johnny.
So to answer your first question, I think that Disney Plus really needed these announcements, because when we were doing my favorite episode of, we just finished recording our like end of the year TV recap. There was one new show on Disney Plus for the entire year.
Mandalorian Plus.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, like
Mandalorian and Taylor Swift Plus.
They needed, like, literally the only new TV shows that aired was the second season of Mandalorian and a show that Gina Rodriguez did called Diary of a Future President, which is a very good young adult show, but no one watched it.
Did that Pixar documentary start yet, though?
Matt, they also premiered The Right Stuff. But
I'm talking about the actual, like, when you look at like physical narrative TV shows, they had two this entire year.
The Right Stuff is a narrative show. It's about
that when did that drop? Like the very tail end of
I think it's still premiering
like July
episodes
or something.
Yeah. So it wasn't a strong year for them, especially like if you look at, because I looked at all of the streaming lists, and it's like Amazon Prime had tons of shows that they were dropping. Hulu had tons of shows that they were dropping. Netflix had tons of shows that they were dropping. I think that if they didn't make this giant announcement of please, please, please don't leave after December 16th when the last episode of Mandalorian airs, they would have seen just their numbers drop so
You know
fast.
what else businesses do in the final quarter of the annual calendar year, not the fiscal year, obviously, when their stocks have gone low and they have no profits for the year, is they announce a bunch of new projects for coming years so their stockholders feel a little bit better about their investments. And Disney stock doubled. So
I have a conspiracy theory that
and look, all of us, Disney, I know you're listening. Please hire all of us to work on your shows.
love
We're
working on your
very
shows.
excited.
But I have a conspiracy theory that, and I hope some website keeps a track of every announcement they made, because like I wonder if even 40% of these won't even be ever make it to production.
Oh no, I mean, it's funny because I think about like when I was a kid, I would read like the Entertainment Weeklies and all that stuff. And there are so many movies that I remember reading announcements of in those magazines. And then like 15 years later, I'm like, oh, I guess that never happened, did it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Reading about like, I think there was supposed to be a Sprockets movie at one point that I got really excited about.
Wow.
Myers, like all types of like
I love that
weird.
you got excited for a Sprockets movie.
Dude, I loved Michael Myers when I was a kid, and then the Love Guru happened, and then
Oh, I'm sorry.
Another good Canadian boy right there.
There you go. There you go.
Well, which of these movies or shows do you think have the highest chance of not getting like eventually greenlit or having some kind of development issue? And I mean, it sounds to me like it. I mean,
Armor Wars will be prohibitively expensive because it will largely be people in CG suits.
Mhm.
So I think that is a really tough one.
the Falcon and Winter Soldier is showing sequences through like the Kangans with Falcon outmaneuvering helicopters. It seems like similar, like big Iron Man action sequences.
Huge. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say again, like I'm still confused how like that's a TV show and not like a set of movies right there because
Totally.
the budget on it is insane. And that's just from the trailer.
But
Like,
look
who
how big
knows?
the budget of like The Mandalorian is too, and how good every episode of that show looks.
The
Like,
Hawkeye
obviously,
series
it's a lot
is
less.
being shot. Sorry,
Yeah.
Derek. I'm sorry.
I'd put money that Willow doesn't happen. I don't think that there's enough investment in anybody about Willow. Like I think
I
that
don't think a lot of the Disney series happen.
I
Yeah.
sadly think the crappy thing about it is I think the ones that are the three most likely to not happen if this is real is Armor Wars, Ironheart, Secret Invasion.
I can't believe you said this when we were in the car today. I can't believe Secret Invasion is not a film.
Yeah.
That's one of the best Marvel events ever, but certainly of the modern age.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, why not do that as a movie? And then you could use it as a great reset if we're doing recasting or people's contracts are up or somebody's decided to come back for a cameo.
I also think because of, the recent 2020 events, I also think even though they announced it, that Black Panther 2, we could see get just postponed and postponed and postponed because, I mean, you're dealing with a main actor death. Now you're dealing with your other main actor is now
who would step into the role.
who is
totally.
causing problems on the internet now. And so, like, I imagine Ryan Coogler, like, was, like, in the middle of a script. He saw that and he was like, duh!
No.
Yeah, the I just saw that actress in Little Axe on HBO, and she has apologized, but I think what Ryan Coogler's approach was in the statement was, yes, they're not going to recast T'Challa. They're going to keep honoring the memory of the how the character was portrayed, and that the Black Panther 2, they said in a statement, would be about like Wakanda in general and going around and showing different aspects to that. But I also agree with you. I think the movie will happen. I think that movie was such a juggernaut on a cultural level and on a financial level that it has to happen. I think, though, that Marvel, this next phase, because if you're wondering who the next big bad is, they're going to go cosmic between this whole multiverse of madness stuff that is going into the Ant-Man and the Wasp. And now you got the Fantastic Four getting introduced, maybe exactly how Peyton Reed imagined it. He's still going to be doing Ant-Man and the Wasp, but they've got the Spider-Man director moving over to Fantastic Four. Would Galactus and and/or Kang be like the big bad? I mean, do you introduce the next big bad in an Ant-Man movie?
Jonathan and I have talked a little bit about this off camera, but I have a conspiracy theory about who I think the big bad is. I do think it is Galactus, but I think that we're not going to see Galactus for quite a while. But
Like phase 5.
will he just be a giant cloud?
I think
Because you have an Eternals movie coming as well. You have an Eternals movie coming as well.
Here is my multi-movie conspiracy theory. I think.
Let me get your tinfoil hat.
Yep. Yeah. Well, Ashley's heard this many times. All right, I'm gonna put it on here. I think WandaVision ends with Scarlet Witch going crazy.
It seems like it's headed that way. Yeah.
Because I think my weird pitch for WandaVision is that I think she's going to spend 8 episodes trying to rebuild Vision. She's going to learn that you can't do it because the Infinity Stones don't exist. She's going to go wonky. They've already said that she's in Doctor Strange 2. I think she's the villain of Doctor Strange 2 because she tries to rewrite the multiverse to bring back Vision. Doctor Strange stops her. Whatever she does blows open the universe, creates Spider-Man 3, blows Jonathan's head, and then boom, we got House of M, and here come the mutants and the Fantastic Four.
and you've awoken Kang during all
And
this.
you awaken Galactus.
Hold.
And-
Most importantly, we get Tommy and we get Billy. We get the twins. The
Yep.
only part I care about Young Avengers.
Yep.
And
And
those
then
actors
and
are
then
cast.
somehow it cracks a time to the 1970s, and Lando Calrissian comes in at a Colt 45 ad.
There it is.
It's all
I
first
do
full
know.
circle.
I do know that the young actor, one of the young actors who plays Wanda and Vision's son in WandaVision, is also in the next Doctor Strange movie, which
Yeah.
is just insane that we're getting all of this stuff. Captain Marvel 2, cosmic movie. I'm gonna put that as a cosmic movie.
Yeah.
Also,
I would say-
there's that swirling
yeah.
rumor that Rogue is going to appear in that, and Rogue gets her flying powers from touching Captain Marvel, so that might be like a.
Do you
soft
stick with that, or
intro
do you
of
not
mutants.
stick with that?
I mean, if you're me, you don't introduce the mutants at all because mutants don't work in a universe with Spider-Man. Because how do you be racist against Wolverine and not Peter? But clearly, I'm not.
I want to ask a crazy question to the
Yeah, I mean,
panel.
mutants don't. So a lot of the mutants do not hide their powers. So a lot of the mutants are like, they're mutants. You know what I mean? Like you see somebody with blue skin, you throw a can at them. Peter Parker very much hides his powers until Jonah Jameson he throws something at him.
Throws out,
So I think that that distinction is, I can see that Peter lives in secrecy, and the mutants try and live in secrecy, but can't.
As long as they do Jonathan Hickman's thruple, they can be in the MCU. That'll be fine.
Yeah, I think that we're going to get mutants fairly quickly, just because there's such a big cash money.
I actually
franchise.
weirdly think we're getting mutants before the Fantastic Four, even though they just announced.
I
Fantastic Four.
actually think weirdly Fantastic Four is one of those projects that we might see just get
Yeah.
through the ringer repeatedly
Sure.
and then shoved. Like, remember we were getting an Inhumans movie? Remember that?
And then it became the TV series,
wow.
but that was
then
more.
they still said we were getting a movie.
Yeah, that was more like Ike Perlman's weirdness with leaving ABC and Disney, and like wanting to get wins on his side versus wins for Kevin Feige. And so, remember he did the whole, and this is super cool, but he brought Big Hero 6 as a cartoon over to ABC so he could get a win on his side. And I got to tell you, I'm super stoked. They're making a Baymax series.
I love
That
it.
made me
Yes. That's great.
super excited. But I don't know. I think we have to get the big cash grab movies. So we got to get the X-Men and we got to get the Fantastic Four. I think ultimately that's going to happen. In the comments, I'm seeing the talk about Defenders, and the big leak like it feels like a year, a week or two ago, was that we're going to get Charlie Cox's Matt
Yeah.
Murdock in Spider-Man 3.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Hasn't been
So,
confirmed.
so that was the question I wanted to ask the panel here, is because like this last week before this investor call, all the news, everybody was talking about all these Alfred Molina and
Yes,
Jamie
Doc
Foxx
Ock.
and
Right.
Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire. But if you read the Hollywood Reporter, none of it's confirmed. It just says the Hollywood Reporters, like, our inside sources tell us that Alfred
Right.
Molina is in that movie. So
Sure.
I want to ask the panel:
And Jamie Foxx, he Instagrammed it.
Are they true? Do we think Spider-Man 3 has all these people in it?
I do.
I do too.
I do. And
I'm
I think
cautiously
Elizabeth
optimistic.
Banks's Betty Brant will come back too.
Oh, nice.
I just think I
Give
could
us
see
Ted
everyone,
Raimi
but
back.
I want Ted Raimi back, and sadly,
only-
Robbie Robertson died.
I
That
know.
actor did so.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. The only thing that I really want is Deadpool kills the Marvel universe, but make it Deadpool kills the Fox Marvel universe.
Well,
So then it just all transfers over to Disney. That's just
yeah, but
me.
it
I know
did.
it's wild.
but it did.
No, but I
it is
need Deadpool
all
to
there.
kill.
I think Fox
I think
killed the Fox.
what
Marvel
you
universe.
want Deadpool to do is go over to Universal and get Hulk and Namor released from their contracts for the cinematic solo
Yeah,
movies and brought over, because Namor, like the Hulk, is still one of those properties that if they want to do their solo movie, Universal has to make it.
And Daniel Day-Kim is not going to be that good looking forever. Come on, get him in there.
I weirdly think Deadpool 3 is literally like frame one as he wakes up in the MCU, and the whole movie is like, Captain America, who the hell are you?
That'd be awesome.
So,
That'd be
John, we've got one more person to add into this in-depth conversation.
Speaking of multiverses,
Ben Dunn is in the room to continue this conversation.
I love you,
He brought a
Ben.
better internet connection this time too.
I did. Derek, you shut your mouth.
Ben, can I just say how awesome it was to have you and Gilmore on the show earlier and just hanging out? It just felt so fresh, and I would love to invite you back for more Geekscapes, because I just think that you and Gilmore should come in and be a part of it. Geekscapists who are listening to this on the podcast feed or have not been watching it all day live, like Jason has while he was stuck in the green room for 14 hours, you missed a story involving a squirrel getting into Gilmore's house while Ben was sleeping on the couch. And it's one of the funniest moments we've had on the Geekscape network, and I can't wait to put it on the feed because I was crying. It was so funny. Ben, you got to come back on some shows. We got to have Gilmore back on the shows. It just felt like old school Geekscape to have us just shooting the shit while Matt tries to do add some form to it and be like, guys, can we play a game now? We're like, no, fuck the game. We're catching up. We're having fun.
For all the old school escapists, I'm sorry.
Ben, what do you think of the Star Wars and the Marvel announcements? It's kind of what we're talking about now, and like it just seems like the lid came off. Jason is proposing that and Ashley was proposing that some of this stuff won't happen just because of it's insane. There's only so much budget and eyeballs in the world that this stuff can actually exist.
I mean, it certainly makes me feel justified in having a Disney Plus subscription.
Just when you were thinking about canceling too.
Well, you're getting a Marvel
and everybody
series
else in
once
America.
every month next year. You're getting a Marvel series. It's
I couldn't believe the numbers that they hit already. Though, like they're at their 5-year goal. Like after just over a year, it's unbelievable.
Man,
Yeah.
good thing those kids aren't in the parks and they're watching this Disney Plus.
None of those people over here are Quibi.
No. Sorry,
I
Derek.
mean, Quibi, not to go off on a tangent, but Quibi was an okay idea. It just, you shouldn't have. They should have held it.
YouTube's
Yeah.
paid service didn't work. There was no way Quibi was going to work.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
when you're all stuck at home, all on Zoom calls, I don't need to sit in an office bathroom to watch a 10-minute TV show.
Oh,
anymore.
it was Well,
Yeah.
not launching with like Apple TV or Smart TV apps, or even the ability to cast or AirPlay. Like I'm stuck in front of this giant TV, and you're telling me that I can't watch the show that I want to watch on it. Okay, I'll watch one of these other shows.
That's
on
a
another
really good
service
point.
instead.
Mhm.
And when you see the success that Cobra Kai has had on
Oh,
Netflix,
yeah.
and
Well, or Wayne on Amazon Prime.
and now
Yeah.
you've got these Quibi deals that don't have to wait for their 2-year exclusivity window because Quibi's gone. It's not like YouTube and YouTube Red that you have YouTube still exists, so you have to wait for the length of the contract to take the content that premiered on the defunct YouTube Red and bring it somewhere else. That YouTube contract, like the whole shopping agreement, that stuff still had to be played out.
Yeah.
Quibi's dead. Those deals are immediately shoppable to other outlets. You're going to start seeing all that Quibi content that Derek loved so much, but was the only person on the planet that I watched. You're going to start seeing it show up on Hulu and on Netflix because with the whole pandemic, a lot of these places couldn't go back into production to make this content. You started to see CW show and stuff, CW taking content off of DC Universe and vice versa just to fulfill their advertising contracts.
Mhm.
Is DC Universe still going?
Yes.
No,
Until
I was
January.
gonna say, yeah, okay.
But it got folded into HBO
HBO
Max.
Max.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
except for the animation, some of the animation, like Young Justice, I don't think it has an announcement yet.
I think it's on HBO Max,
Okay.
but like some of the older, you want to talk about like not being available on the other shows. Like I hated that I couldn't watch DC Universe like through my PS4.
It also nobody
I hated
except
it.
Americans has access.
Yeah,
to
I was.
it.
I remember like the Comic-Con event. I was so excited for it because I like loved like the Marvel Unlimited subscription service,
Yeah.
and finally here is a catalog of DC titles that I can read. And obviously it never came here. And where do those like, if they could do another digital subscription like Marvel Unlimited, that would be great because
And
that's
that
the
is
portion
where
I
you-
was almost most excited for. And now where does that go? That disappears now too, right?
And you filled that, but you were forced to fill that vacuum with Quibi. Is that? Am I doing the math right?
I tried.
It's and CBC Jewel.
Okay.
Getting Kim's convenience
CBC
before
Jam,
the rest of us.
yeah.
This is what I'm concerned about.
New Kenny
Well,
versus
you guys
Spenny
get
on there as
Baroness
well.
on sketch. You get Baroness on sketch before we do. We have like a year until we get like Baroness on sketch, and we still don't have it on DVD, which kills me.
Bold T in the comments asks, "What is the Jason and Ashley podcast yet?" Because I like them. I added those words, but I guess he's asking because he likes
we
y'all.
have almost 350 episodes, so we have a lot of screaming that you can listen
It's
to.
called Geek History Lesson.
Yeah.
Go Google it.
Jonathan is on many episodes.
We
Matt's on an episode.
actually brought Jonathan onto our Deadpool episode because we were like, I don't think we can fill an hour talking about Deadpool because we're not the biggest fans of him. So we're like, bring on Jonathan.
Oh, funny.
Bring on Jonathan.
Jonathan
I
also
do
was
like
on
it.
the Alfred episode. episode and the Stan Lee episode. I
Mhm.
think Matt's
Yeah.
our best horror movie villain.
Jonathan's usually knocking on our door when we're trying to record, and we're like, "Not today, buddy."
Please.
If you guys ever want to do
He
a
got-
Quibi episode, just
He
call
got
me
his
up.
revenge by letting
Yeah.
you wait 14 hours to get onto
Yeah.
the screen.
I was like, Jason, we'll be recording at 6 a.m. Jason
Just
got up,
5 more minutes.
he did his calisthenics. He was ready to go.
Yep.
And then we made him wait. We made him wait. Matt, listen, we got to mention this whole thing. Big Brothers, Big Sisters, that's what we're raising money for here on the live stream. And we're almost to the end of it here. You can still go to support.mentornewjersey. That's mentornj.org. The URL's at the bottom of the screen. And you can donate. We're at $1,136 on our goal towards 2,000. Don't know if we're going to get 2,000 during the next 5-10 minutes that this show's lasting. But
I
it's pretty
did.
awesome.
I already did the name shuffle while I jumped off camera. So a big congratulations to Chris Robinson, who has won the drawing. Chris, I know you have
Are you
been.
the Chris Robinson I'm related to?
You
I
have
have
been.
questions.
He's been an
Are you from
amazing
Halifax?
supporter to Geekscape as a whole. He actually had reached out to Horror Movie Night in maybe April or May. He had found our podcast because it was 2020 and it was a shitty year, and he was looking for a horror podcast. And he has just really gotten involved in the entire Matt Kelly cinematic podcast universe at this point, and listens to all of the shows, supports all of the spin-offs from Horror Movie Night of like Fright School, and he listens to Analog Jones on the Geekscape Network. He listens to 91 Donkey Lane. So he in 1 year became one of the biggest Geekscape fans. So you couldn't have drawn a better name, honestly.
Okay, Chris Robinson, this is what we're going to do. Because we talked about this. We said if we cross $1,000, we're going to draw a name. We drew yours. So I'm going to invite you to be a guest on any of the Geekscape shows. And that's obviously dependent on the host, but you can always be a guest on Katie and I's Geekscape main show. I think the Horror Movie Night kids would love to have you, but I'm not going to speak for Matt. And also, I'll mail you a bunch of Geekscape shirts. We got the Don't Hate Create shirt. We got the Heroes Wear Masks shirts. I don't really know where in the world you live, but I'm down with it. I'm guessing it's some English-speaking place because you got the most Anglo name I can think of right now. But I'm going to mail you some Geekscape shirts. We're going to get you on a Geekscape podcast. I love that you're a part of this. And you know what I'm going to do? Next Comic-Con, when we're all together in San Diego, I'm going to go ahead and invite you to watch on video as I cut off one of Matt's toes while he's sleeping, and I'm going to put it in an envelope and mail it to you, okay?
No.
You're a big
Please
Matt
tell
Kelly
me-
fan,
please tell
and
me
I
Super Action
figure...
Man is going to hug him.
Listen, if you love Matt Kelly as much as I do, you're going to want to make a necklace out of one of his toes. I'll even let you pick one, okay? I'm going to bring my garden shears. He sleeps like a baby. And then I'm just going to clip it, maybe poach a little needle with it, so with some heated little tweezers, and then I'm going to put it on a little string. You even get to pick the material, and I will mail you your own Matt Kelly toe necklace.
That's several hours of work.
Yeah. I also like that you think I sleep like a baby at Comic-Con.
You do
I
with
usually-
the chloroform.
I sleep,
You always look
I
so
don't even-
comfortable on the floor there.
Yeah, I was gonna say I never sleep in a bed. I end up on the hard cement floor,
Matt.
like.
In,
You gotta be more of a cuddler. Jonathan will let you up there.
Matt, at
least-
listen. In my defense, at least you're not Josh Jackson almost getting peed on by a drunk Shane in the middle of the night. So, like,
Yeah, I'm like, who gets to cuddle with Shane
Yeah.
these days?
Ben, have you not heard the story of the 1 year I was really excited to have the bed until Shane ruined that dream within a matter of minutes? I was like, look, I know I normally sleep on the floor all the time. It's really starting to like make it tough for me to like have the energy that I need to have to run the booth by myself all day. I'd really like to sleep in the bed. And John's like, no, totally. You get one of the beds. I'll get the other bed. So we all show up, and Shane is very, very drunk and is going to like lay down to sleep off the hangover or whatever. And we come back to an almost completely naked Shane, sweaty and spread out across the bed. And I was just like, all right, I'll just sleep on the floor again. That's fine.
that was Shane in the
Man,
midst
am I
of
right?
of a
That's what
pregnancy.
I'm talking about.
That
I'm
was
like,
Shane in the midst of
get
a
my own
pregnancy
hotel?
scare where
Yeah.
he was just throwing them back before we even got to San Diego or even left Los Angeles. And I'm sorry, Matt. I will make sure that your name is on the room before we get to San Diego.
I mean, I had to share a bed with Shane 1 year, so I don't think he had a pregnancy scare at that point, but it sounds like a similar story.
Oh, poor Ben.
I think Ashley and Jason did it right last year when they were like, we're just gonna come down for the day.
We've done that the last 2 years.
It's amazing.
Oh, it's
if
amazing.
no one is paying for your hotel room, it's the only way
Do
to
it
do
one day,
Comic-Con.
get out.
And then leave. You stay there until like 2 a.m. and then you just drive back to LA. And
It's
you're
like the
"See you
buffet of
later."
Comic-Con. You get to like experience everything of Comic-Con in 8 hours, and then you just get the hell out.
Yeah.
And the train's
Some
really
of the
relaxing.
Sonic on the way out.
Yep, you
No,
pick
we
up a
drive.
night. Yeah.
Be careful
By we,
using
I
the
mean
word
Jason
buffet in
drives.
Comic-Con around Derek. It might make him think of Amazon parties.
No.
But do you think buffets are coming back after the pandemic? Because your girl
don't
has
think
questions
so.
about that.
I
I love the
really
buffets in Vegas. That's the only reason to go to Vegas.
I know, right?
So Chris Robinson, I hate the report that if you do become a big fan of Geek History Lesson, I will not be cutting off Jason or Ashley's toes because they're not going to be sleeping in San Diego. But if you really want Derek's, I can offer you a Derek toe maybe. But Matt's the one you're after. I can tell by your fandom. Matt's the one you're after. That's what we do here on Geekscape.
Give the people what they want.
Yeah, Matt,
Matt,
you're,
like the sweetest baby angel of us all.
I could probably
you're
go down to
invited
that
to
beach and
join
find
us.
some toes.
No.
oh, that's called full circle.
Circle.
It's a callback in the improv.
Well,
The Geekscape multiverse.
This live stream is brought to you by Colt 45. Goes down smooth.
Have you ever had Colt 45?
Yes, it's not smooth. It's not smooth.
It's burning.
That's like what the punk kid
Billy,
in my
do
high
you
school used to
lie?
drink under a bridge.
It would be like
I'm assuming you guys were
like-
talking about the Lando
Yes, we
show.
are.
Oh, yeah.
Is it a show, TV? Is it a TV show or a movie?
TV
Why,
show.
why
It's
not
a-
both?
It's a secret advertisement for Colt 45.
Matt, if you can, in the comments, Big Yanks has just dropped a reference to something that is topical because Ben Dunn just emailed me that video earlier this week. When I recruited Ben Dunn and Gilmore onto the earlier segment, I get a text from Ben sometime late at night, and it's just a YouTube link. And in the description, it says Japanese, and I'm like, not clicking on that one, not clicking on that one. It was the old Geek Drome video clip of people funneling eels into their butts and then squirting them out.
I mean, I just
Why?
felt that it was
he was feeling nostalgic.
serendipitous. Like I had not talked to Matt or John. Well, I've talked to John recently, but I haven't talked to Geekscape John in a while. And it was like right after I was invited to be on this today that Reddit posted that in like it like popped up in the all section, and I'm like, oh well, John and Gilmore need to see this.
It's a sign.
It's a sign.
I mean, God, it's crazy to think that, we did this. We're getting very, very close to the 15-year anniversary because you did film on like Christmas Eve.
Released on Christmas, yeah.
Released on Christmas Eve. And all the great mistakes that we've made over those 15 years. I think
that one goes back 42 years,
yeah,
Matt.
I can't help but like remember, having before she was super famous Felicia Day on your couch and talking to her about jerking off dolphins and the
It's
noises
science. And in my defense,
was not the smartest interview tactic.
You would have thought that I scared off Felicia Day. No, she was my guest again this past April. So don't think that any bridges with us and famous people have been burned. They haven't. Felicia was on Geekscape in April. Check the feed, Geekscape. She loves Geekscape. And she was like, we should get lunch. And the pandemic happened, but we will get lunch after.
That's what happened.
Edgar Wright, though,
Yep.
not a fan.
That's what it did.
Edgar Wright did shoot me a look in the Starbucks in Los Feliz where I used to write when I lived there, and he's familiar with Geekscape. Yes, he's also familiar with a writer who wasn't. Who was the writer who wrote the review of World's End? Because that was the one where he was like, "Oh, really?" And I'm like, "That's not my review. Who wrote that review?"
I don't remember. I don't think it was a review. I think it was a list of like bar themed movies or something like that, and it just had some negative comments about The World's End in it.
Eric.
I like The World's End.
I love that movie.
I really like The World's End, and
It's crazy.
I was talking about it yesterday because my friend Jim Pellegrinelli, who's been on Geekscape, did a double header of Trainspotting 2 and World's End, and both movies kind of have those like same themes of like outgrowing the where you used to be in your life. And I like both those movies. And it was a review, Derek, because I remember Simon Pegg had just been on Geekscape. We were kind of like in the trajectory of Edgar Wright, and someone posted a review of World's End shortly thereafter, and I got like a mention or an email, and it was like, thanks a lot. I was like, oh yeah,
No.
sorry. Love your films. Don't know what to do. Baby Driver's amazing, but yeah, sorry. And I just remember I used to write in Los Feliz at the Starbucks on Hillhurst, and that's where he'd go and get his.
I think I
coffee to
found
go.
it.
Who was it that wrote it?
Someone named Inaudible Mumble. in
That is,
2013.
we don't even know who that writer
No,
is.
I don't know who that is,
Not
no.
even yet. I don't
Yeah.
even remember who that is.
Listen, all I got to tell you.
Oh, wait, I
They
think I
said
know who
last
that
week
is.
The World's End hit theaters, and I had high expectations for this movie. And those said expectations weren't fully met. I wouldn't say that they just go on about how it was okay.
Derek, listen.
Yeah.
Listen, it's all water
I
under
think
the
that
bridge.
was my roommate Schraub.
It's all water under the bridge. All right? It's all water under the bridge. Geekscape's here. It's here to stay. We're like the
It's for
cockroach of the
Edgar.
internet.
I'm trying
And
to
it's
think of
all
other
good.
classics.
Can I be sweet for a second?
Sure.
I want to be sweet for a second, since you brought up it's almost 15 years. So for those of you who are newer, like I've been on since the beginning.
You were
which
on
is
the
crazy.
first episode of Geekscape, man.
Yeah, when you guys went to Comics Dungeon in Seattle.
Aw.
But I was originally a fan of Geekdrome because of Kevin Smith, because you guys had interviewed Kevin Smith, and that's how I discovered you. And then I just kind of glommed on because you were fantastic.
We were his first podcast.
Yeah, you were my
He
first
said
podcast.
so. No.
Oh,
We were
Kevin Smith.
Kevin's first podcast. He said so on his podcast like last week.
Oh, crazy.
Which my comic book store guy, Leland at House of Secrets, was like, hey, Kevin Smith said like the Geekscape was like his first podcast on his podcast. I was like, I would have been none the wiser, but it's amazing.
Yeah.
So sorry, continue. I just wanted to clean that up.
So you lost my train of thought.
You were being sweet.
But I was being sweet, and then like I met you guys at Comic-Con, and I will forever to this day hate the fact that you had me come on air and give my opinion of Heath Ledger possibly being the Joker, and I said he's going to be terrible. Well, there was two mics in my face saying, "Yeah, no, that guy. What? The guy from Knight's Tale is going to be the Joker? No way, terrible." The worst opinion I've ever had in my life, and I've had a lot of bad opinions. But I moved to Los Angeles shortly after, I think, the first year of Geekscape, because I wanted to do acting and be in the film world. And I knew no one. I literally knew Jonathan from meeting him twice, and Gilmore from the internet. And John, like my first day in LA, he was like, "Come over to Laura's house. You'll meet my then girlfriend, and I'm going to give you the keys to my studio in Los Feliz, and you can just stay there while you look for a place." This is a dude who I've met twice and communicated with a lot on the internet, and he let me stay at his place, which was just insane to me. I don't know what he expected me to do. I mean, I masturbated all over every single inch of it.
That's a form of cleaning.
That's what you do.
But yeah, and then when I moved down here, like I moved into Culver City near Gilmore. Like John and Brian were like the two people that I knew, and we were like my best friends down here, and like put me into the trajectory of kind of the rest of my life so far. Like because of you guys, because of Geekscape, like I got interviews. I started doing interviews. I got more out there. I worked for Nerdist for a while. I worked for Activision and Blizzard. Like I've worked for a lot of cool things, and now I'm doing my own thing, and I feel confident about it. Oh, and honestly, like I can't help but thank Geekscape and Jonathan for that. So it's been freaking 15 years, man.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And you spent today on set, man. Like,
And
you're producing now.
I almost want to piggyback on that because like I was a kid in college who just searched geek podcasts and found Geekscape on its like third episode, and John like name dropped some obscure pop punk band from Philadelphia, so I stalked him out on MySpace and messaged him and was like, how the fuck do you know this band? And we would just talk here and there, and I always was like, man, I feel like I'm being a bother to this guy, but he's really interesting. And then one day you messaged me and said, hey, what's your number real quick? I want to talk to you. And I'll never forget this. You called me and said, I'm going to start to launch a Geekscape website, and I'd really like you to be a part of it. And like, who would have thought like 14 fucking years later, I'm still here being a part of it. Like,
a lot of those pop punk bands are now like our collaborators. Like Les and Jake released that album yesterday, and Les and Jake, you've worked with them on their live feeds with Vinny from previously Les and Jake on a live feed. Like we collaborate with a lot of the bands that we believe in, and music has been a big part of the network. We have a music show almost constantly on the network in one form or another. And Matt, you're a big part of that. You kind of run our network now, and you've shaped it the way you wanted to. So I don't want this to turn into some Jonathan's great jerk fest. I won't stand for that crap.
Yeah, Jonathan's a dick. Matt.
Jonathan only jerks off dolphins.
Derek, you created that opportunity. Ben, you created those opportunities. Matt, you created those opportunities, and I swear, Katie, if you get too big, I'm going to smother you in the crib. And I just listen, like it's great and everything, but I, from the start, wanted this to simply be a platform to give y'all opportunities to take and run in whatever forms y'all wanted to take it and run. If Jason and Ashley have a Kickstarter, they know that there's an open door here to promote it. Like that's it. That is.
Only if we pay the piper.
Well,
no. I mean,
in toes,
But listen, I love it. I'm so appreciative of the adulation and that. But guys, y'all did it. Y'all did this, and I love it. And we did it together, and I love that. Like, no, come on now, Ben. I love you, man. Like, you did this, dude. And I always believed in it. And I wouldn't have given my keys to a studio like for somebody I didn't believe in. Like, absolutely not. You think I did that to Frank Sanders when he moved out here? Fuck no. He sent me a bunch of pictures of him with a military arsenal of weapons with a Geekscape shirt on. I didn't give him the keys to anything. Just kidding. Frank was our PA on Chasing Fletcher Allen, and he's the sweetest guy, and I love Frank Sanders.
Yes.
Geekscape tattoo and all.
It's true dedication.
Another classic Geekscape memory for me is also when we were doing April Fool's Day articles, which, this year was not the year for April Fool's Day articles. But my favorite one that we ever did was Geekscape gets bought by Nerdist and promptly fires Matt Kelly, which was like...
I think the funniest thing about that one, Matt, because in the day, so many of our writers, I was writing the recommendation letters myself to get them over to places that could pay them, which I can't do. And like we were getting them jobs at Nerdist and all these different places, and we were collaborating with them a lot. I went in the next, I think 2 or 3 days later, after I think like on the April 4th or 5th, I go into Nerdist, and a couple of people at Nerdist were like, hey, congrats for joining the family. And I was like, what are you talking about? They had bought our April Fool's story, hook, line, and sinker.
You should have been like, where do I sign the paperwork for the patients?
And Chris was always gracious. Like Chris came on Geekscape and was very candid about like his substance abuse and things that I knew I wanted to talk about, because I don't, if you all listen to Geekscape, like this past episode with my friend Adam Mortimer, who directed this new movie that came out yesterday, Arch Enemy, with Joe Manganiello. I think I butchered his name.
Chuck Mangione.
We talk about like the vulnerabilities and the ego and all these things that, like, as storytellers, I think you just want to like talk about the gloss, and I don't like talking about the gloss. And to Chris Hardwick's credit, like he came on and I was like, we're going to talk about the alcoholism, dude. We're going to talk about the tough stuff, and he went straight to it. And I remember him at Comic-Con when Nerdist and Legendary, after Legendary bought Nerdist, like when they were across the aisle from us, Chris always took time to like be like, hey, Geekscape, what's up, man? Like, how are you doing? And talking, and this community is awesome. And I just have zero interest in moving on and doing anything but adding to it in form of more shows, different kind of initiatives. Obviously, Katie, we're going to keep talking about the live show when things get back. And I just love this stuff. So listen, I love you, Ben. I love everybody who's watching this. this is your platform. This is something that I would not do by myself. This is only going to work as a community. And so
there it is.
if you got something that you want to share with us, even if it's a cat
He's so upset right now.
or
any
of it, this is the place to do it.
And I feel like it's awesome that we're doing this while we have Ashley and Jason on, because like you couldn't be closer to being in Geekscape without having your podcast on the network as Ashley and Jason. Like if there
we
were
crash
to be
your booth every year because
well, I was gonna say, if there was a year that you didn't come to our booth, I would be like disappointed. Like I would actually be legitimately sad if there wasn't a Geek History Lesson Day at the booth.
Well, thank you.
So. No, the booth is already paid for next year. We'll see if we have to push it another year, but it's already paid for. And
can I ask a question?
It's a resource for everybody.
Beyond the great praise that Jonathan and all you guys deserve.
I am so incredibly uncomfortable.
Did they make you pay for this year?
No.
Okay, good.
We forwarded. We forwarded our.
Okay.
Yeah, San Diego Comic-Con, when they decided that they weren't going to do it this year, there's just no way. In about May or June, once they knew that they were going to get the insurance back on the whole shebang, they offered. And they also, when they announced Comic-Con online, they said, "Hey, do you want to get your money back, or do you just push it to next year?" And I was like, "Push it to next year, baby! I ain't going to the back of some 15-year wait list." No. Like Comic-Con is something that we are doing every year at Geekscape. When I started Geekscape, I asked Fernando Pinto to make me a logo, and then the next thing I did was get the Geekscape.net URL because I knew it was going to be a network, and I got the booth at Comic-Con. Those are the two things that I did within the first hours of Geekscape, just because I knew
and then Jonathan put in his will that once he passes on, Matt will have to sustain the booth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's not going to own Geekscape. That's going to Derek, but Matt will be the booth slave forever. So works
so much
for me.
For any future London children.
Yeah, no, that ain't going to happen. And Katie, you get half of it. Okay,
Great.
Matt, let's see how we're doing on the Big Brothers Big Sisters. Let's see if it moved the needle at all. I like the fact that we moved it at all. I think that's amazing.
No, it's still at the same spot, but
awesome.
it's a spot that I am content with.
I'm super happy.
I knew that we set a really high goal for ourselves with the 2,000, but getting beyond the halfway point is still fantastic. And like I said before we went to this live episode, literally having 15 plus hours of just showing off the giant scope of talent that we've acquired just by connecting with people. I do want to give big shout outs for all of it, but definitely, like I said, the highlights were having Gilmore and Dunn back on for that. I can't believe I did that card game. The Geekscape Games reunion was phenomenal. The people at Dark Hills events, the stuff that they do, putting together that RPG was so much fun, so ridiculous.
And costume changes.
Yeah, costume changes. It was amazing. But I've got to stress that. Holy shit. If you don't want to watch all 15 hours, restart this video because it kicked off with the Poof, the magical game. It is the most insane thing I've ever witnessed happen on a live stream. Bacon's a genius. The way that he maneuvered, he did things that I didn't know you could do in StreamYard during that live stream.
There's a lot of multimedia going on, and I knew from knowing Bacon that I was just like, okay, Jonathan, you're going to make sure that you don't get thrown out of the roller coaster, that you are secure in your seat, and just go wherever it takes you, buddy, because Bacon's insane.
Having Nate's son just standing there saying nothing for the full hour just made it all the more awkward.
No, and the fact that the scoring wasn't even numeric, but started being like pictures of Alf and Dick drawings was like, okay,
we're progressively getting smaller and smaller.
I love it. Geekscape, there's a lot of content. It's all going to be on our YouTube channel forever. So you can go to Geekscape TV, that YouTube channel, youtube.com/Geekscape TV, and watch it if you're listening to this. And I'm going to start sporadically putting some of the content from today that isn't a dedicated Geekscape show, which you should subscribe to most of them. Like anything you're interested in, we probably have it. There's wrestling. We did a wrestling show today. We did music. We did action movies. We did comedy. We did horror. We did a Christmas show. Like if you're interested in all that stuff, it's on the network. Anything that's not attributed to a specific show, I'm going to try and put it out here on the feed for y'all. So Enjoy it. I got to wrap this up. The things you want to do is subscribe to Geek History Lesson so you can listen to more Ashley and Jason. They are really well-educated geeks.
And I promise there are not as many Lando Calrissian Colt 45 jokes on there.
I don't know.
But
about
there are
that.
plenty of ads for our book, Jupiter Jet and the Forgotten Radio, which is in stores right now. But actually help the charity. Don't buy our book, but buy our book after you help the charity.
Why not both?
But
Yeah,
there
there you
are
go.
characters on Geek History Lesson, and I do love when they come back, specifically usually in holiday episodes. So I guess there's one around the corner.
There's one
soon.
coming Monday, actually.
You're
might
not going to want to
have
miss it.
More characters than initially advertised.
You're not going to want to miss it. Geekscape's back this week. I'll talk to you, Katie. It's an awkward, weird time. It's these directors have been coming at me from PR agencies that are like, "Hey, can you do noon?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, I can do noon." But
Have fun
Geekscape
with
is
that.
there's just a lot of cool stuff happening on the network as we go into 2021. And I'm glad y'all are part of it. One last check, go and support.mentornewjersey.org, Geekscapists, and thank you for being a part of this. Matt, I'm going to try and wrap this baby up. What else do you want me to say, man? I'm a little dancing puppet for you.
No, I mean, just go and support all of the shows on the network. The network is just growing every single day. I'm even working on a new podcast that should be coming
Didn't see that
sometime
coming.
in January. I won't be hosting it. It's just one of Bacon's. Yeah, I know. One of Robert Bacon, who we were just bigging up a couple seconds ago. He used to do a podcast called Adam Sandler Please Stop with his friend Marie Maloney, where they watched every single film that Adam Sandler had any ties to in order of release to find the exact moment when they stopped being enjoyable and started becoming painful. But now that he's spun off and started doing 91 Donkey Lane, and like Adam Sandler releases a movie a year at this point, they don't really have a lot of content. So she is doing a podcast called I Love Trash with Marie Maloney, where she'll be reviewing Lifetime Hallmark movies and reviewing and doing deep dives on reality television. So promises to be interesting. We've pitched some ideas like bringing in an expert on the Jersey Shore and giving them an hour to basically do a Geek History Lesson episode on the Jersey Shore cast. So seeing how much about trash TV can you sum up
I'm looking
in
forward
an
to
hour.
the Paul London Lifetime episode.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh, do I have veto power anymore? You
No.
just sort of-
No, you gave that up about 15 hours ago. So
Derek, I can't die and give it to you fast enough. Geekscapists, thank you so much. Subscribe to Geekscape wherever you find us on any podcatchers, not just our show, but like Matt said, the whole network, and Geek History Lesson, Ashley and Jason's show. It's free. I don't know what to tell you. We've been giving you 15 years of free stuff and 15 hours today of free stuff. So I hope you appreciate it. I hope you pay it forward here for Big Brothers and Big Sisters. And Geekscapists, hang tight if you're listening to this on the podcast. We're going to give you a brand new Geekscape podcast later this week. Go ahead and share this one with all your friends. Hit that little share button. Maybe leave us a review on your favorite podcast, or do whatever you want to say thanks for the 15 years and 15 hours of free content. Matt, thank you so much for organizing this thing. Ashley and Jason, thanks for joining us. Ben, thank you for coming. And the Venmo is in the cell phone for the kind words. Derek, thank you for bringing back Geekscape games. I'm holding you to it. And Katie, thank you for your patience with me as my co-host.
Anytime, man. I'm just sitting.
For everyone at the Geekscape Network and Matt Kelly, thank y'all so much. And we'll see you all later this week, which is insane. Thank you.